everyone, it's Becky and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. This video is going to be a bit of a reintroduction to me as I haven't posted in quite a while and I haven't been consistent in a long time. But basically I wanted to reintroduce myself to Booktube as I want to continue making content again, and I kind of want to get back into creating videos and talking about books as more of a creative outlet. So I'm currently living in London. I live in a small flat, kind of on the outskirts, but just within the M25. I'm in my late 20s and I work a full-time job. And I started this channel back in 2018, which feels like so long ago and like no time at all. When I was a uni student, and basically life got in the way, things happened. I moved multiple times up and down the country. And now I'm in a stable job and I just want to find a way outside of my job to be a bit more creative and to meet new people, since I've moved away from all my family. And yeah, so that's why I'm coming back to this so late. When I'm not reading, I'm a big fan of watching TV, binge watching TV and playing video games. I'm very much an indoor person. All of my hobbies kind of center around some form of indoor activity like reading, and I especially love anything that's narrative driven or story driven, as I love that kind of escapism that you get with those hobbies. One of the big questions is always like, what can I actually bring to Booktube that's different? And the answer is there's so many different Booktubers on this platform that I don't know if there really is. You can find whatever you want with whatever book you're wanting to read, whatever kind of content you like to watch. So for me, it's just kind of bringing my own personal opinions and really focusing in on fantasy novels. I'm a big fantasy reader, and when I was book blogging and creating content before, I really loved working with indie authors, especially fantasy indie. There's some amazing gems out there of books that most people just haven't heard of. So I really want to work on building up their profiles and talking about those indie gems that everyone else should be reading as well. And yeah, what I'm really most looking forward to this channel is talking about books and meeting other people who love reading, and finding more books that I love to read as well. That's the big one. I'm constantly reading books that I have on my shelves. I'm finding new books to buy or get on Kindle Unlimited. But there's always a good way of talking to people and finding out through word of mouth what other people are enjoying to find that really good 5-star read. And then I've been a reader my entire life. So since I was basically old enough to learn how to read, I've been reading small picture books, and then I remember reading Famous Five, Secret Seven, Enid Blyton books when I was a child. And then by the age of like 10, I was reading kind of big fantasy books. I remember reading Trudy Canavan's The Black Magician trilogy, which is probably what really got me into the fantasy genre properly. It was probably one of the first series I read and truly loved, and then I believe we bought every single book from her after that because we just loved the world building and the characters that she brought to life. And then if I had to ask other booktubers who've been doing this much longer than me anything, it would be, how do you guys read so much? The majority of the books I read are big epic fantasies, so they're quite large books, but I feel like so many people are reading multiple books per week now, and I don't know how to keep up with you. So I'm probably going to be focused on individual books or specific series that I'm enjoying at the time, just to keep it relaxed. For me, one of the biggest issues I had when I was blogging and creating content before was trying to keep up with the amount of content that some people were putting out. I can't read that much, especially with the books I enjoy reading, quite thick. So that many words per week just wasn't happening. And so it's not going to happen this time either. I'm probably going to read max 1 or 2 books a week, and that's being very optimistic if life doesn't get in the way. And then speaking of Booktube, one of the biggest challenges for me is definitely going to be creating content consistently for YouTube. So I'm also going to be writing on my blog, but I find writing so much easier than filming and editing. I'm more of a behind the camera gal. I love taking photos as well as one of my hobbies, but I do not like being in front of the camera, and I find it very uncomfortable both filming like right now and then editing it later and hearing myself speak just gives me like the most anxiety ever. And so learning to edit and try to get over that kind of complex feeling of seeing yourself on camera is probably going to be my biggest challenge as well. And then you'll probably see most of my fly in these videos. I move around quite a lot depending on how messy the fly is. Currently my bedroom is actually probably quite tidy, although I've got loads of books stacked up next to me already. But yeah, you'll probably find me reading mostly in bed. I always read before bed. And then I do sometimes take it over to the sofa on a nice sunny day, which might be this afternoon actually. You'll sometimes find me going outside to read in our garden. I do love just being in the sun, preferably on a warm day. And then more often than not, I'm actually reading on a commute to work. So the tube, the train, or taxi, anything that's kind of transport and I'm not doing anything, I like to pick up my Kindle, or I always have a book in my bag as well. And then my favorite genre is definitely fantasy. If you look on my bookshelves, the majority of the books I own are fantasy, and the majority of books I read are fantasy. I do love horror and sci-fi as well, but again, it's normally those horror and sci-fi books that have a fantasy element or fantasy tropes within it that I enjoy the most. And then I do sometimes pick up contemporary and historical fiction, but I very much have to be in the mood to read either of them. It has to be a specific mood, otherwise I get kind of bored and turn off, so I do veer so heavily towards fantasy. I also read quite a few non-fiction books. I probably won't be talking about them here, but I do love picking up and learning things, and since I've left uni now, I don't get to do that much with my current job, so reading about it in non-fiction books is my way of learning every day. And then yeah, this is my book collection. As you can see, it's not currently organised. I have recently redecorated my office and therefore all my books got moved around, all my bookshelves got moved out, so they're very much all over the place, but as you can see, a lot of them are fantasy books. And yeah, I had these 3 big bookshelves from IKEA, and I hope to get maybe another one as well to fit in here if possible, just to get those overflowing books on some shelves. Thank you so much for watching this reintroduction to me. I really hope to see you guys more and to create a bit more content this year, especially as we go into the summer months. I'm hoping the lighting will be good enough for me to film most days, hopefully, fingers crossed. And yeah, I'm just really excited to talk about books with you, and I hope you watch my future videos as well. Thank you.